Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live here at 8 Questions with. All right, let's see what's going on in the old chat room. Make sure we are live, live, live. Oh, yeah. I think we're actually a little early. That's all right, though.
It's better to be early than late, right?
It just gives a chance for people to get here. And I love the picture they use. See, they use that picture too, that thumbnail. I'm telling you, that's
Oh, the Little Red Riding Hood one.
yes. Yes, somehow we got to get you into becoming a Little Red Riding Hood.
That would be great. That would be a great role for me, I think.
I think so too. Oh, definitely. Well, I don't know. I can see you. Well, I don't know. No, I see you. Honestly, I see you more like a Red Sonja.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll take that. I was going to say Little Red's probably a little bit too, she's not independent enough for me.
We have some people already coming in and say hi. We have Phil's Creepy Vids.
Hi.
Greetings, Phil. And Charles Cochran is here. Kaz is here. So we are already getting a few heads already rolling in for this interview.
Good.
Yes. Say hi to Kelly in the chat, everybody. I'm going to continue to share us out for about 10 minutes. Bree's here. Hi, Bree. If you guys can share us out, that would be awesome. We will start the interview in about 8 minutes or so, but we need your help in sharing us out. Since that's Phil, that's Phil. Phil will do that. Feels like a one-man army. I actually really miss him. He went back to work after several months, but during the week he would do a live stream, and he connected so many people on here. It's amazing. Yes. Charles says hello.
Hi, Charles. Oh yeah, I can see it now. If I just pop in.
Yep. I should be able to see
it.
I'm going to continue to share us out a few more places so people can come in and say hi. All right. So this is the part that that's always the hardest part. Is like you have to get up there and share us out. Yeah.
And I suppose it's early over there, isn't it? Where you are, it's early, or
it's noon over here.
Wow, you say people are at work. People are having a sandwich.
My sister and her friends, my sisters and my brother, they're just waking up. It's 9 a.m. where they're at.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you're closing in on dinner time, and they're just eating their Wheaties today.
Exactly.
Okay, just a couple more, and then I will be ready for action. That's the problem. It's like try to get to the biggest groups if you can. Yeah,
I'm just grateful that people have come. Thanks.
Oh no,
Thanks,
they're
everyone.
excited. No, they're excited. This is gonna be, like I said, this is gonna be a lot of fun. I said,
sorry, I was gonna say, don't get me wrong, like even if no one was here, we'd still have a good chat anyway.
Oh yes, of course. Yep, Phil has liked and shared by him. That means we'll be getting a small army here. That will be here. I know Hobbs will be here because that's just how Hobbs is. Hobbs is my co-partner at on the midnight hour. Okay, yay. Okay, that's enough. Wow, thanks everybody for showing up. I know for some of you guys, it's still, like I said, it's still breakfast time. A lot of you guys are sitting there going like, wait a minute, it's time for lunch. What's this guy doing up already? Well, it's noon. He's never up this early. Well, the reason why is because Kelly is is in Great Britain, and in Great Britain it is now 5 o'clock, right? So it is getting evening. And I wanted to do this interview live. I did not want to do a pre-recorded interview because I wanted to do it live. There's our friends Heroic Preppers, otherwise known as Heroic Waffles, who has the best YouTube channel name out there. So he's going in disguise as Heroic Preppers instead of Heroic Waffles.
That's amazing.
Yes. So we are here early because, like I said, Kelly's at 5 o'clock. I did not want to do a pre-recorded interview, so I wanted to do this live. I know this might be a little unusual for some people who are used to us coming out at nighttime, but that's how it works when you do it live. Um, so, all right. We will get this going and let people catch up when they do. Kelly,
Hello.
so tell us about the big event that just happened to you in June.
So you're talking about me getting married, right?
Well, yes,
Yes.
yes.
So I got married a couple of weeks ago, and we were supposed to be getting married last year, but obviously COVID, little pandemic happened, so we weren't able to get married. We were supposed to be getting married in Edinburgh at Christmas, but then we couldn't do that because of COVID, and the dates kept getting changed. And in the end, I just said to Dan, "Oh, I'll get married to you in the back garden. I don't care. I just want to put my dress on. I just want to put a ring on and just be done." You know, we had this whole romantic wedding planned. We'd written our own vows. We'd written the story of our love. It was very lovely. And but then obviously none of that happened. So I just said, "Look, we've got the money. Let's just go and elope." So that's what we did. We went to the Lake District with one of our dogs, and we got married not in a field, just in a little library. And yeah, it was lovely. It was everything that I wanted. I think I know some people love the idea of having a really big, grand wedding, but I'm glad that it worked out this way and it was just quite small and intimate, because there was nothing to worry about. I wasn't stressed out. I wasn't worried about anyone else. I wasn't too worried about what I looked like, because I was like, "Oh, it's just you and me." So it was, yeah, it was really lovely.
The date is amazing to me.
I think you should explain that.
So, so like June, May, June, and July are like my hell months. This is really rough for me, the 3 months. My wife passed away on May 20th. I got married on June 19th, and her birthday's on July 25th. So those days are always a little bit sad.
Mm.
A couple of years ago on May 20th, I found out that I had a sister that I didn't know I had on May 20th. Now you got married on June 19th. So now June 19th doesn't sting nearly as much, because I'm very, very happy that you got married. You and I have known each other now for what, 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, I think.
Yeah, probably 2 years now. Yeah.
And we have I have been sitting here watching your ordeal trying to get married for the last year. And I've just been waiting and waiting. I've actually lived vicariously through you and Dan getting married.
Yeah.
I think you're a lovely couple. I
Thank you.
definitely believe you're soulmates.
Me too.
I really do. I believe you will be forever. And so when you told me that you guys got married on the 19th, I will not lie to you. I got choked up. I shed a few tears. I was happy. And I cannot thank you. I know you guys didn't plan it that way, but it worked out that way. I think
we said yesterday, didn't we, that we think someone might have had a little.
Yes, I definitely feel Lori's touch on that. And this is finding out my sister Rose, a couple of years ago. I'm sort of anxious to see what happens on July 25th, because it's like that's the last date to go, and it's like something good's gonna happen. So I can't wait.
Something amazing.
So let's go back to the beginning for Kelly. Let's find out where Kelly decided to become an actress and get into this crazy business called acting.
So going right back, so I am from Scotland. I'm from Glasgow, and that's where I lived for the first 5 years of my life. My mum passed away when I was 5, and then I got adopted, and I moved to Nottingham, and I was a bit of like I don't know if I was shy or I was just traumatized. I don't know what it was, but like I was a quiet child, and spent a lot of time in my own world, making up friends and stories, and just sort of being a bit of a loner. And I think it wasn't until I went to junior school that I was introduced to drama and play and, all the lovely stuff that comes along with that. And I can remember they were casting a play, and I think it was Noah's Ark, or it was something, bog standard. And I really, 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 really wanted a speaking role. Because like I say, I didn't have many friends. I was quite quiet, but I was like, I really want a speaking role. And I didn't get a speaking role. I went home and spoke to my adopted parents, and was like, I really want a speaking role. So they spoke to the school and was like, please just give her a line. So I was a zebra that had a line, and it all just started from that line, the line about wanting my stall to be cleaned out first. And then the next year they were doing another play, and I was like, yes, I've been bit by the bug. I definitely want to do it. So then, and pretty much that just happened throughout junior school, throughout high school. And it wasn't until probably my last year of high school that I was like, I'm all right at this. Like, I'm pretty good at this. And it definitely gave me a lot of confidence. Obviously, doing anything that you're good at gives you confidence. And, having people tell you, you're really good at that, or I loved it when you did this. And so I decided that after I'd been to high school, that was the only thing that I wanted to do. And my adopted dad was like, oh, why don't you go and learn IT or something useful, at college? And I was like, no, I'm just going to do drama. So that was what I did. I went and just did drama, and just discovered so much I thought at the time I was discovering so much about myself. The truth is, now as a 33-year-old woman looking back on it, I wasn't. I was just pretending to discover myself. It wasn't until probably university when I did it, and it was really intense, and working with different people, that I just thought, I literally don't want to do anything else. This is it. I just want to act. When you're young and you're full of hope, and you're like, the world can't wait for me. Like, the world's going to be welcoming me with open arms. And that's what I thought would happen. And I've just sort of been trying to ride that wave ever since.
So your adopted parents, they, your adopted dad, he did support you, but he wanted to err on the side of caution and wanted you to have a career to fall back on just in case.
Yeah, 100%.
But they have faith in you, though.
Yeah, because even at school and at college, when I was just doing drama, he would come and watch my shows, and afterwards, like, he would tell me that it was really good. And my adopted parents they wouldn't blow, I don't know how to say it very politely. They're not, they wouldn't fill me with false hope. If I'm not good at something, they'll just tell me, well done for trying, but maybe that's not for you. Do you know, that's how our family is. We're quite blunt with each other. And so I knew that if I wasn't very good, they would tell me. And there's been times when I've been living at home with my parents, and we've been doing like auditions, and I've had to do singing or whatever, and I've had to do it in front of them. And my dad's been like, oh, should we do another take? Because I don't think that was it. And, that he's very honest, and I like that. And, I appreciate that in this sort of climate and day and age where I think not many people are honest with each other. It's really good to have someone that will tell you, oh, that wasn't your best. So yeah, he was definitely supportive. But
so basically he could be a casting director.
Yeah, definitely. But now we've got to the point where I think like he's just like one of my biggest fans. I can remember I did an audition and I had to sing, and I didn't really. So my dad was recording me, This is when I lived at home. He was recording me. And then a couple of weeks later, I was sat with him and his phone rang. And I was like, what is that? And it was me. It was me singing. He'd set my audition tape as his ringtone. And he was like,
wow,
oh, this goes off in the office. And it was really, really sweet. But obviously I was like, that's so embarrassing. But yeah. He was like, oh, I've shown all my work friends. I was like, oh, okay.
That's awesome. So he was sitting there going, that's my daughter. This is my daughter. Who's that? It's my daughter.
Yeah. How and I was singing like Les Mis, which is, you know, not very me either. So yeah.
So he really, he made sure that you were doing something heavy. Because Les Mis, have you ever done Les Mis on the stage?
I haven't. And as to tell you the truth, I don't really like musicals.
Really?
Which, yeah. And everyone says, so I teach children at a stage school. And when they're like, when their parents are talking about musicals, I've been honest with a couple of them and I'm like, yeah, musicals aren't for me. And they're like, what? How can you not love musicals? And it's too happy. It's too sing-songy. It's too much. But I had an audition where I had to sing. And I couldn't just sing like a song that I liked listening to. I needed to sing like some classical sort of like musical theatre, you know, a big number that everyone would know. So I picked Les Mis just because it was, and I Dreamed a Dream because it was so heartbreaking. And I didn't want to sing about anything happy. I know that Les Mis isn't this happy clappy musical, yay, where it's the opposite. But I picked a song that was heartbreaking because I needed to connect. And that's what they're looking for. Obviously, if you're singing in an audition, it's how you connect with the lyrics and how you get that across to an audience. And there's something about singing which makes me feel very vulnerable. And it's just it's because it's a muscle that I haven't used. I can act in front of anyone and not really care what they think because I'm confident with that skill. I could probably be the best singer there was. I'm not, but I could have, you know, I could be, but I would never like to do it in front of anyone because I've just never really practiced. Sorry, I'm babbling. Bleh.
No, I would love I would love to see you do a musical. Quite honestly, I could definitely see you doing something like Phantom or, you know, something on that line. Les Mis would be the most impressive. And I think, yeah, he definitely could do that.
I'd love to challenge myself and do that. Mm-hmm. I've got a friend who I went to uni with, and she's a really good singer. And she'll say to me, "Oh, you know, let's sing, or let's do this together, or let's write little funny songs." And yeah, I just get a bit nervous with it all. So
just think about that. But think about that for a second, though. It's like she wants you to go ahead and sing with her. Let's do something together. Let's do something together. Basically, what she's telling you is if you're saying that she's really good, you're saying she's really good, and she wants you to join her and do that. She's basically telling you that you're really good.
Or she wants me to make her look better. You know, we
no, because you know why? Because honestly, if you put two singers together and one is really bad and one is really good, no matter who, I don't care who it is, you can put the best singer in the world against the worst singer. All the attention is going to go to the worst singer. It always does. It's human nature.
Yeah,
so
that's
I don't believe that she would do that. She would not do that because that's what would happen. She's saying that to you because she sees what she sees in you, that you could actually do musical theater. You have a voice.
Maybe I will have a go at that next. So I have honestly been looking at, like, even if it was just like something amateur, just to get me over the fear and get me able to sing in front of people. So yeah, sure. We'll see what happens.
That would be very interesting. Let's see, we got some people in the chat here. This is Costa saying, is it me or does Kelly look like a younger version of Minnie Driver?
Yes.
Probably a little prettier than Minnie Driver. That's just me, of course. But
thank you.
House of Red Music and Shelty Lounge just popping in to say hello. Let's hear a little impromptu tune now. Oh, someone wants you to sing a little Les Mis. Oh,
Oh,
little Les Mis. Oh my.
I mean,
Uh,
I have just spent 20 minutes talking about how I can't sing in front of people.
she wants me to make her look better. See, she wants you to come in there and you guys would really light it up. I thought I agree too. I think both of them would I think it would elevate them both. I got some English folks here from you. My good friend Rick from Old AF Reviewers. He's saying hello. He is in your neck of the woods. Yep.
Actually, does this person, sorry, did someone say, I think you posted something and they were like, she lives down the road from me.
Oh my.
Can you remember? And I was like, I don't know who that person
Oh, this is
is.
Natalie.
Oh.
House of Red Music and Shelter Lounge. This is Natalie. So this is from one of your friends.
Oh.
Oh my. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming and watching Kelly here. And yes, if it sounds like a pub. Shelty, House of Red Music, Arab Music, and Shelty Lounge.
I know, who is that? She sounds really cool.
She does.
Natalie who?
You know what? It sounds like she has a stage too.
It does. Natalie, I'm coming round.
Yes, and Natalie, I will follow up on that.
Yeah, as soon as I've come off this, I'm gonna find out who you are, Natalie.
And this is Rick Old AF. I'll have to tell you about the challenge I inspired with those guys. Not now, but later, so you can laugh. Wow, this is awesome. Thank you guys so much for showing up for the interview. You guys are making our day. Okay, so now we already established that you are going to be good at musicals. You just got to hit the stage. So tell us about what it is like for you to do auditions. What is I mean, you got an audition. So how does Kelly prepare for auditions?
First thing, I've got an audition. I'm like, yes, like that is the first hurdle. Because I think people think, oh, you can get auditions. Where from? Like, where are they? It's difficult. It is hard out here. So first of all, as soon as I get an audition, I'm happy that I've got an audition. And I will obviously read the script or the slide or whatever they've sent me. And then I'm quite lucky. I can learn lines, touch wood, very fast. So I will normally just read it a couple of times. If it's like a really emotive scene, like I'll read it and my brain's going wild of like, oh, this could have happened and this could have happened, because it's lovely if you get a whole script, but we were talking yesterday, sometimes you only get like, here's a paragraph,
right,
and you're like, I don't know who she is. So then obviously I go to town in my head and just make up weird backstories to get some connection to whomever. And because of COVID, like I know we were talking about this yesterday, but everything's been a self-tape. You know, it's very rare to go and have your an audition in front of people. Although I did have one of those at the weekend, but I'll talk about self-tapes first. So self-tapes are a blessing and a curse. People think, oh, it's easy. You can just set your camera up. You can do it as many times as you want. You can watch it back. And, you know, you can try different things. That's great. But also you can get in your head. You can do it a million times. You can start questioning your entire existence because you're watching it back and you're being so critical of everything. And sometimes if it's like an argument. So when I was doing my audition for Chelsea in the film April, that was an argument. And so I had to get Dan to read in the person I was arguing with. Dan's not an actor. I'm
sure Dan did not want to hear about you.
Well, it was so funny because at first he was doing it and like he was really going for it. He was shouting at me. He was like, he was getting into it. And I had to say, I was like, do you want to calm down? Like, because you are not auditioning. If you want to audition, you can contact Darren and you can send him your photo and we can go from there. But this is my audition. You need to be quiet. Because he was really
he's hamming it, right?
Yeah.
He's Al Pacino in it. He's chewing the scenery.
Exactly. And obviously he stood right behind the camera. the camera being my phone. So as soon as we play it back, obviously I'm further away from it, but it's like he's literally shouting into the microphone. So then I said, look, Dan, we're going to do it again. Obviously we want to hear what you're saying, but you don't have to put so much emotion into it. So then he does it that way, and I'm looking at him like, and he's like, what's wrong? And I just said, like, it's so hard to act when you're not giving me anything. You're not giving me anything to act with. So he gets quite frustrated. He's like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, oh, just press record and I'll go for it. So yeah, self-tapes are a blessing and a curse. You know, it's also good because I don't have to get in my car and drive anywhere. I can just send a video. There you go.
I love the fact that he's trying. I mean, just think how good it will be. I mean, you guys actually do this a little bit more. Pretty soon now you can act off him for your self-taste, but he can run lines with you too.
Well, yeah, and we've actually had feedback from Darren when he gave me an audition for another film that he was doing. The first thing that he came back and he was just like, I love yours and Dan's relationship, because at the end of it, I just spoke to Darren, obviously because I know him. I wouldn't have done that probably with another director, but I just sort of recorded a little message to him, because in this scene it was very physical. Like the character that I was auditioning for, she like spits on this man and like that. I really going for it, and obviously Dan didn't want me to spit on him, and that's fine. But also, like, you know, Dan didn't want to like beat me up either. So I just said to Darren, like, sorry, we've just done the best that we could. But if you want us to have a fight, like, we will, and we'll go for it. And he you know, loved that Dan was so supportive and getting involved, because I think obviously that's quite rare. You know, I see a couple of times that people are putting calls out for, oh, can someone help me do this self-tape? And it must be difficult if you're an actor and you're living alone and you've got to run a scene where it's you know, there's more than one actor in it.
Now self-tapes are already starting to slowly come into it, right, even before the pandemic hit. But now that the pandemic hit, it basically is pretty much going to be self-tapes going from forward on, right? I mean, yeah.
And it's fun, like, doing a self-tape, because I never just do a self-tape. I'll go up into my wardrobes and I'm like trying to find like clothes for the character, and then like I'll go put like makeup on. So again, for the audition I just did for Darren, like, my character, she'd been beaten up in a previous scene, so I like went to town with my like special effects and like had a black eye and like did my hair like how I thought she would be. And yeah, so it's fun because you get to play dress up, and obviously you don't always get to do that.
Now that actually leads me to another aspect. You have been really working hard on you basically have self-taught yourself special effects, your makeup effects, because you've been posting that on your Instagram and your YouTube page for a while now, and you're really good at it. I mean,
thank you.
Some of the stuff that you've created is just like, it would fit in any movie right now. I posted Kelly's Instagram page. I'll do it again. You should guys go over there and check out, after the interview, check out her page and see some of the makeup that she's done. And you basically taught yourself this, right?
Yeah. So as a creative, not as taking actor out of it, as a creative, like, you're always looking for something that's going to like keep your brain going, and something that's just going to keep your soul happy, because being in this sort of industry can be really soul destroying at times, when you feel like you're putting everything into something and you're not getting much back. So I needed something for me that was kind of like untouchable. So that was when I love makeup, but I wanted to learn special effects, because I thought, how cool would it be if I could literally write my own horror short? I love horror. So I wanted to write my own horror short, and I was like, and then I can do the makeup, and then I can be in it, and it will just be, and not to be narcissistic or to be like, hey, look at everything that I can do, but just kind of showcase lots of different skills in one thing. And yeah, and it be for me, and you know, just something to kind of keep you going when things get a bit tough, because they do get tough.
I think when I saw you start doing that, I thought it was actually pretty brilliant. Simple for the fact, like you mentioned before, because there's not, I mean, compared here to the States, there's just not nearly the industry there in the UK as we have over here. And so if you can make yourself, you know, very versatile, I mean, your chances of getting work are maybe you don't get maybe you don't walk in there and get a role. Maybe, okay, well, fine. I can also do makeup, or you do makeup. And, hey, oh, you know, you also act. So let me slide over and let me do. You know, someone can use you for both. It makes you a lot more in demand. I thought that was really admirable. 1 second, I'm gonna take a look in the chat here and see what people are saying, because I want to keep up with that. See, Greg's here from Arizona. Hello to all you beautiful people. We got some people from the van life community here. Thank you so much. Our old friend Hobbs here. He also loved the Baylock Residence. He was very keen on it. And he's my co-host on the Midnight Hour, so he's here. Yeah, this is great. This is awesome. Thank you guys so much. I absolutely love this. So now that you worked on your makeup, I mean your effects, I mean that's just amazing to me. So now that you have your acting, now you have your makeup. Now walk us through your first role that you won through audition, and what movie was this for?
The very, very first role that I got for a film was for a film called The Heist. And basically, when I was at university, I lived with a lot of boys, and they had all been cast in this film. And then one boy decided that he didn't want to do it. And the directors were like, oh my gosh, we need another boy. And obviously all the boys I lived with were like, oh, we don't know any more boys, but we do know a girl. And I was like, get me in there. So I basically just got it because I think they were desperate for someone. So this role, it was a really, really small role. And I went and I showed up and, you know, did my thing. And then they made my role a little bit bigger. And then she was a little bit bigger. And it was fun because it was like, obviously they'd robbed a bank, and my character was like the brains behind the operation.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, obviously. So she was the brains behind the whole thing. And well, no one's going to watch it. So halfway through, I die. Oh, I get shot. And at the end, they brought me back. They were like, no, we're going to bring you back because we might want to make another one, you know, do a sequel to it. So I was like, okay, cool. Obviously it didn't happen. But yeah, that was my first film that I did. And I can remember I used to work at Tesco, which is like Walmart. I used to work at this big supermarket, and I got the call whilst I was there. And honestly, I felt like I'd just won the lottery. I was like, I've just been cast in a film. And it's, you know, obviously it was a really, really low budget, independent film. But yeah, I felt like I'd just won £1 million. So that was really like my first, you know, taste of it, because everything that I'd done before then had been theatre, because everything was live performance. So it was strange acting in front of a camera. Obviously we'd done, when I was at university doing drama, we had sections that were, you know, we had not assignments, we had, what's the word, like topics. We had tests on different bits, so we did film and TV. But yeah, I hadn't actually done any sort of real acting. So that was my first role, yeah, and I loved it.
Now you did your first horror film, The UnHoly?
Yes. So I'd done a couple of shorts before then, done a couple of horror shorts, but my first feature horror film was UnHoly, and that was like paranormal vibes to that.
Now, how did you enjoy the experience of being in a horror film? Is this your first experience in horror?
Yes. So I love, so apart from like the little shorts that we've done, UnHoly was set in the 1970s, and we were in this amazing house that hadn't been decorated since the 1970s. This old couple had lived there, and they just hadn't touched their house. You know, like even the gadgets in the kitchen were from the 1970s, so it was just perfect. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I say, it was supernatural, sort of paranormal, which isn't my favorite kind of horror. I'm all about gore, like blood, guts, violence, everything.
I saw a couple of stills from there from your role. You were covered in a lot of gore there, in a bathroom.
Yeah, so that was the scene sort of like towards the end where I got pulled through. Oh, like the demon came up from the floor. It was like, and we filmed that at probably 1 o'clock in the morning outside. It was winter. It was so cold, and I literally was pulled into a bath underneath this fake floor that was just full of like mud and crap. But yeah, that was brilliant. But yeah, not enough blood in that for me, I think.
So how I mean, for your characters, I mean, you know, like for the UnHoly, how did you prepare for your role for that? I mean, this is your first horror film. It's a lot different from a crime caper. So I mean, and this is also your first feature film. So I mean, you're working a lot longer, and probably a lot harder because the movie's so much bigger.
And there was only, for a majority of the time, it was literally me and the other main actor. So it was just us. So it was a really small team. And playing Margaret, my character was called Margaret in that. And she's a lot different from me. She was very like gentle. She was being terrorized by these demons. And I never really had played anything like that, because even at uni and things that I'd done sort of between uni and UnHoly, I always get cast as like the angry person, the strong person, the like unhinged person, but I'm never like vulnerable. So it was quite nice to play a character that was vulnerable, and show a softness to sort of like my acting range.
Right.
So to play her, again, obviously just reading the script and creating my own sort of backstory for her. She did spend a lot of time alone, and for me, it wasn't really the ghosts. That wasn't the bad thing. I think the bad thing was for her was to feel like she was losing her mind and that no one believed her. And you know, people were like shouting at her, saying like, "You're lying, you're making this up." And it was kind of really interesting to explore that a little bit, and play with things, and not always having to be like acting up here, being able to like be very subtle. Obviously with theatre, everything's big, everything's, you know, you're performing for the people at the back. But like with film, everything, you know, it's tiny little things. And I did spend a lot of that film crying. Not me, Margaret did. Like, I'm not sad. She was going through it. So yeah, it was quite emotionally and physically demanding, because I can cry on cue, which sometimes people will be like, "Oh, and then if you could just cry." Oh, and if you could just cry, and you're like, yeah, but it's not always natural for that character to cry.
You're gonna have a reason to cry.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not just cry for crying's sake. So, but when you are in such a state, your body physically is in that state. It's quite difficult because, like, obviously your brain knows that you're acting. I know that I'm acting. I know that this is not real, but your body doesn't know that. Your body thinks that something bad is happening because you're crying and you're getting really het up and your breathing's changed. So your body's kind of like, what is happening? And obviously you're just trying to get your lines out. So it can be quite stressful. And, you know, there'd be, especially when it's over long periods of time.
Yeah, your brain's confused. It's like, why are you upset? So it can take a strain on you.
Yeah, definitely. And when I was doing the Baylock, it was a hard day. that we did all of the dramatic, like all of the crying scenes in one day. I guess because people think, oh, it would be okay because you can just stay in that place. Like, one, I have to take myself somewhere not very nice to cry and to make it real and to make it continue. And spending like hours in a dark place of your brain isn't nice. And yeah, I think I ended up having like a 45-minute nosebleed because the pressure was like everything was here. And then and then we had to cut, and obviously like there was blood everywhere. And I just was like, maybe we shouldn't do everything in one day. Maybe we just do little bits as you go, not like, oh, we'll save that to the end.
Yeah, that would threaten to take me over to the edge if I had to sit there and be in that dark spot all day. I couldn't do that.
And I think my friend, when I was doing Baylock, my friend, I was friends with the makeup artist, and she spoke to me afterwards and just said like that because she'd never seen me act. She'd never seen sort of behind the scenes. And she came up to me afterwards and just said like that was really, really hard to watch because I know that you're taking yourself to a dark place, but there's like a fear of like, are you going to come out? Are you going to be all right? Like, so, and I've never really thought about it like that, what it's like for everyone else that's watching you send yourself a little bit like.
I think everybody's instincts would probably be to go over there and make sure you're okay. I mean, generally everybody's going to, like, they see somebody crying, the first thing they want to do is go over and make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
I mean, complete strangers. So imagine sitting there watching that, wow, that would have been rough.
Yeah.
But you did it really well because now we are going on Baylock, and the Baylock Residence is your feature, but you are the lead actress.
Yeah.
And only your second feature. Not too many actresses can walk up there and say they're the lead in their second feature. That takes a lot of talent. So tell us about the Baylock Residence.
Thank you. So the Baylock Residence was by the same director, Anthony, who did UnHoly, and Anthony wanted to do another sort of like period horror film. It's kind of like trying to make obviously your film, your small independent film, a bit different. So he, likes going down, the period sort of path. So the Baylock Residence was about a girl. Oh God, I should have reread back up on this. So it's about a girl called Patricia who gets a mysterious letter and has to go back. And she has to go back to her sister's marital house because she's gone missing and something's happened, and Patricia's got to go and save the day, obviously. So that was not selling it at all, but that's the Baylock. Obviously the Baylock Residence is the house that we filmed in. We filmed in this amazing house.
Was that house big or was that house small?
That house was big. It was very big. I'm going to just swap and I'm just going to put you on charge and take my headphones out, okay?
Sure.
Don't go any.
No, I'm going to talk to the chat.
Okay.
All right, folks. So thank you all for being here. This is awesome. I hope you guys are all enjoying being. And we're so glad to have her here, and we're so glad that you're here to watch it. Now, can you still hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So here you go. Yeah, that house was big then, right? Because it looked big. It looked really foreboding too.
Yeah, and I think how Anthony got it was amazing. He literally had driven past this house that had like a derelict sign out because they were going to knock it down, and it's in quite like a posh part of where we're from. So we'd driven past it a couple of times, and he obviously just really liked the look of the house. So he found out who had bought this house because they were going to knock this old house down and just put a new house where the old house was. That's what you do when you've got loads of money. Can't relate. So he had driven, he basically found out who it was and said to them, I'm a filmmaker, I was wondering if I could make a film in this house before you knock it down, because it wasn't unsafe. The house wasn't unsafe. They obviously just wanted a nice modern house, and they were really gracious enough to just let him go in and basically do what he wanted. Which meant he could paint it whatever color that he wanted. He could obviously bring furniture in and out. It didn't matter if things got damaged, because the whole thing was going to get ripped down, which I think is just amazing. And they let him do it for free. Like, you know, people spend thousands and thousands of pounds on location fees, and he just drove past, found out who it was, and just asked them if he could borrow their house, and they allowed him to.
That's a story. That's a movie story all in itself, because I don't know very many location scouts that actually walk up there and say, "Oh, by the way, can we film in your house?" And for them to sit there and say, "Yeah, do whatever the hell you want with it. Just just slide the keys underneath the doormat when you're done."
That's pretty much what it was. They literally gave him the keys, and you know, I would get there early in the morning, and then we'd leave, say, like 2 3 o'clock in the morning, and then be back the next day. And Anthony just sort of had the keys, and we'd just come and go as we pleased. And in the Baylock, do you know the scene where she's upstairs? Like, he literally put a hole in the ceiling. He literally just did that.
Right.
Which I just thought was so bizarre. And they didn't care. They were like, yeah, do what you want. They, in fact, I remember once we were there, and they brought their friends round who were visiting from Japan to be like, oh, look at the film that's being made in our old house. So yeah, obviously, like, they obviously thought it was cool. They had, you know, bragging rights or whatever. And you know, and I think it's quite nice, because obviously they were going to tear the house down, but now they've sort of got something that will always remind them about what the house was like.
Right. So yeah. They can go back there and say, look, our old house was in a movie. I mean, it's you know, you said, you know, that's something they could probably have a party around, and when they've had a couple of cocktails, they can sit there and say, oh, here's our house, here's our old house, and you know, the house that we're in now, well, here's the house before in a movie. I mean,
exactly.
It's a great icebreaker.
I'd love that.
I do too. I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm sure they're sitting there going, well, maybe we shouldn't. I wonder if afterwards that they said, maybe we shouldn't tear it down quite so much. Maybe other people want to shoot in it.
I know. Well, I don't know what the house, because I know that Anthony, I think he did another film in that house as well after the Baylock. So I don't know what state it was in, but unfortunately, I don't think the house is there anymore. I think it has been knocked down now. You know, they need somewhere to live.
Right. But you're playing a period piece. Now you're like, now you're in World War II, because that's where the Baylock Residence is set. It's set in World War II. Oh, hi Marie, how are you? We got a few people coming in. Marie and Sam are here, and John from Doomsday Kingdom Army's here. Thank you guys all for here. All Angela's here. Thank you. Wow, this is amazing.
I know, there's loads of people.
Yes, I'm having so much fun.
Oh God, I am too.
So now we're in World War II. Now this must have been really fun. So you dressed up, because you look way older in the movie. I mean, you appear to be much older than what you are. Now, how did you like playing an older role like that? I think that's because of the period piece made you, because your clothes and I mean, it's just like.
So I enjoyed it because I love that sort of like the fashion of it all. Like, I really enjoyed that wig that I wore. Like, I loved it. I was like, how do I make how does one get one's hair to be like this all the time? And then the hairdresser was like, curlers, rollers. I was like, oh, I can't bother with all that. So yeah. So I enjoyed it, because I really enjoyed the fashions of it, and the hair and stuff. And it's, you know, it's nice being able to say that you've done that, and you've got sort of pictures of you looking a bit different to what you normally look like. One thing that I would say, and not necessarily was a problem with the Baylock, but when you are doing period pieces and it's a low budget, sometimes the costumes are a bit off, sometimes the props are a bit off, because you are just using what's available or whatever you can get your hands on. Luckily, the clothes that I got to wear were genuine, you know, from the time periods, and they just happened to fit me. But obviously, when you have different actors, different body types, not everything can be 100% authentic. But I did really enjoy it. But I'm ready to step into the present day now.
Right. So, yes. So that's what you're doing with April.
Yeah. So April is a film that I got to be a part of because of yourself.
No, no.
Well, you definitely introduced me, didn't you?
Darren and I have one thing in common. We both appreciate massive talent. We both talk about it. So, you know, when I said, "Hey, Darren," then he said, "Yeah." And so I said, "I got one for you." And then he said, "Okay." And that was it. That was all. I mean, he trusted me. And of course, I never do that. Like I said yesterday, I was just like, I mean, because you know how many times, you know, I mean, swear, I mean, you imagine how many times a director or a producer gets that all the time. Hey, I got somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me to actually, you know, I was just like, you know, I felt really like I just believed in you. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
I just believed in you, and it's like, Darren, I got someone for you, and you really need to take a look. And so he jumped, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful he trusted
I'm
me.
grateful. I'm so grateful because, you know, when Darren said to me, like, I've got a role that I'd like you to audition for, I knew that I had to bring it. I knew that that self-tape needed to be the best self-tape. It needed to be good, not just because I really wanted the part, but also, like, if someone's recommended you, girl, you got to pull it out the bag. You can't let anyone down. So there was that little, like, extra buzz about it. And then, so I got the audition through. That was one that I did with Dan again. That was the one where I was like, do you want to calm down? Who are you shouting at? Because it was...
Do you still have that on tape?
I'll have it on the computer. I'll send it to you.
I'd like to see.
It was, you know, so in the audition that I had to do, it starts like it's an argument between two people that were in love. They share a child. They're not together now. He's a very bad man, and he's sort of knocking on the door. So that the scene starts from sort of behind a door, and I thought, like, how are we going to do this? Because normally when you do a self-tape, I don't know what the standards are over obviously your side of things, but a lot of the time you're told to sort of just don't walk off camera, like just stand in one place, don't look at the camera, look slightly to the left of the camera. You know, there's all sorts of rules and regulations as to how to do the perfect self-tape. But I said to Dan, I was like, look, I just want to do the scene. I want to act this scene out. So we set the camcorder up, and the tripod was literally right in front of our living room door. And I went up the stairs and I scraped my hair back because this character that I was playing was tired. She was worn out. You know, and it's, again, an emotional scene, but not like a cryy emotional scene, like loads of light and dark in it. So yeah, I did that audition and I sent it off. And I literally sent it him, and every 10 seconds I'm refreshing just to see, has he seen it yet? Has he seen it yet?
Oh, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, he's watching it. And then I was like messaging him, and then probably like a stalker, I was like, hi, what do you think? Please validate me. And he was just like, yep, sorry, I was just sending it to this person. And then he sent it over to the main character as well to see if he liked it and if he thought that he would act well with me. And yeah, I think it was like the next day he was like, yeah, you've got the role. And I was so happy. And to this day, honestly, that's one of my most favorite characters that I've ever played. I love her. Her name is Cheetah.
Darren, the movie April is written and directed by Darren James King.
Who's
Darren,
amazing.
yes, he is an amazing director and writer. I have reviewed a couple of his films. Let's see, I've reviewed The Edge, which is top notch, and actually, there's another one I've done too. 66. Oh gosh, it was one of my earliest reviews. Darren and I have known each other for years. He's one of my earliest reviews, and so I've talked to him on and off throughout the years, and I've actually done an interview with him as well. Actually, I need to catch up with him as soon as April gets done. Um, but yeah, after I said it, after I recommended, I didn't say a word. I just, because it's like it's not my place. And then he came over and he says, "Guess what?" He says, "What?" He says, "I really like her. Thank you so much. I'm going to use her in April." And I was like, "Awesome!" And then I saw the little clip. He sent me a little clip of the trailer, and I saw you just briefly there, and like, "Oh, there she is, there she is." I can't wait to see it. I can't wait for everybody to see it. It's gonna be
Yeah.
It's gonna be different for people who've seen you in Blaylock, because in Blaylock you were so quiet and so reserved, and here you're out there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fierce.
And I was just so like, obviously I had never met Darren, so I drove to London on the day that he wanted me to be there, and we had this conversation yesterday. I'll just go over it quickly. So I drove to London, and I got there, and I was like anxious, and I didn't get out of my car, and I was like, oh my god, I've never even spoke to this person, but I was like, it's fine, just go in. And I was just like blown away by like how like straight away as soon as I got on set, like everyone was so professional, everyone was so friendly. Darren is such a warm and like welcoming person. And I was introduced to Neil Ward, who plays the lead in April. He's amazing as well. And we ran through our scene once or twice in this bedroom whilst Neil was quickly having some lunch. And then Darren was like, right, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, okay. And I was literally buzzing. And then Neil and I had this sort of conversation because it's an argument scene. And I was like, should we just go for it? Like, I'm giving you consent to just go for it. Like, there's a bit where he has to grab me. And I was like, do it. Like, don't pretend. Don't just say the words and pretend that we're doing it. Like, really do it. So, I'd met him like, an hour and a half before, and then we're out in the corridor.
It's tremendous trust.
Screaming at each other and really connecting with it. And after we did it, we were looking at each other like, that was good, because you can feel when you've done a good job. And no one had yelled cut, and I was like, oh, have I forgotten lines, like what I was supposed to say? And I turned around, and literally everyone was around a screen watching it, and they were like, I could see the excitement in their eyes, and that having that belief and that validation from people that I knew straight away that they were really professional was just such a good feeling that afterwards I just went into the back room and I had to cry by myself, and I was like, oh, it's so nice. And I rang Dan on the way home, and he was like, how was it? And I was like, everyone was lovely, and they just said it was really good. And Darren was really complimentary of me, and just complimentary of my talent, and saying that I was talented. And that's in a industry where you hear no a lot. When you hear, yeah, that was really good, it's such an amazing feeling. Like, that makes all the rejection feel worthwhile. I don't know why I'm going to cry. I'm emotional.
Well, you should be proud. Be proud of what you accomplished, Kelly. I mean, that's really how I look at it.
Yeah.
You're like I said before. You're an excellent actress, and you recognize that. Neil recognized that. I mean, Darren's no rookie. Darren, he's got a really fine eye for actors, and for the fine writer. He's a very good director. He knows his shit, really. And
I have so much respect, just so much respect for him, Neil, and for everyone that was on April. But you know, reading more of Darren's work and stuff, like it's just so exciting because I think he's
now, and that actually has led to another. You got to audition for another role for him.
Yes. So this is another. So I think this is a short at the moment that he's looking to do, and this is called Hope, and this is the character that I did the black eye for, and so that role was like obviously different, but it's still gritty and real. It's a real character, someone that you could really get your teeth stuck into. So I did a self-taped audition for that and sent him that over. And the best thing about working with Darren is I can send him a tape and then I can be like, what do you think? Like, do you want me to do it again? Like, do you want me to try it this way? Do you want me to try it that way? Obviously, normally when you're sending stuff off to casting directors, you just do what you think and then you send it off and you're like, hope you like me. But with Darren, like, I can have a conversation with him and say, oh, I thought this, so that's why I did it like this. And you know, this obviously there is a little bit of an insecurity in all performers. I don't care who you are, don't tell me that there's not a little voice inside your head that's like, what are you doing? We don't know what we're doing. We're just here.
Is that how it sounds? It's like, what are you doing? I know, you know what? Yeah, I can hear, I can see that in most actors.
Yeah, like, you don't know what you're doing, do you? No. I'm just out here and trying. But yeah, it's good with Darren because I can have that sort of conversation out loud with him, and we both support each other. And you know, I know that I guess not just, you know, Darren acts as well, so Darren knows what it's like from my perspective. Sometimes I've worked with directors or writers who have never taken a drama class, and it shows because they're like, oh, if you could just do this, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll just press this magic button. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why you gotta have. That's why a lot of times you see someone and you look at a performance and you're sitting there going like, you know, why is that performance? You know, why is it so upside down? And you really have to go deeper and say, well, because they're only doing with what they're doing the best with what they got.
Yeah.
You know, they could only do what's given to them. So It's not because they're bad actors. I mean, sure, there's some that are inexperienced or they overact or whatnot. But a lot of times, the biggest fault in a performance is the script itself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what I've learned is people sometimes think that if you act in something, you had a say in it. You don't. You show up, you stand where you're told, you say the lines how they want them to be, you know, how they want it to come across, and you leave. And then a lot of things happen when you aren't there. You know, the magic of editing, you know, when the film sort of really comes together, you're not there as an actor saying, oh, I think this or I think that. You know, you've just been part of the puzzle, and then it's up to someone else to put it together and create the finished picture. So, you know, sometimes I think people forget that. Yeah, and you know, I've had it, and I have had to say like a couple of times, like, I literally have no control over like what the finished product is. I just do my bit, and how that is put out there in the end is not up to me, you know. But when I make my own films, it'll be up to me.
So speaking of that, I mean, speaking of roles and whatnot, I mean, where do you? Let's see. Oh, let me check the chat real quick here. Let's see. Let's see. Everybody's doing. Let's see. Sam says he likes anything to do with World War II. So the Baylock Residence is definitely for you, Sam. Let's see. Yep. Obviously you're on the right track. Sky's the limit. Cause says that. I agree with you there, Cause.
Thank you.
See, Marie's saying I'm going to watch the Baylock Residence on Prime Video. That's awesome. You'll enjoy it. Kaz is saying I'm so happy that I did this. Yeah. Kaz says he would watch you in mostly anything. Yeah. And speaking of that, what are like 3 or 4 roles that you want to do to challenge yourself? I mean, I said this yesterday. I could see you and tell me. Let's just ask the chat here, just because I believe they'll be honest. I personally see you as being a romantic lead. I don't see you as a character actress. I see you as a romantic lead. Now, you might work more as a character actor, but I see you as a lead actress, and I see you doing something more, more fun, like a light comedy, romantic comedy, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
You definitely have a personality for it. You definitely have leading lady looks. So, is that
thank
something
you.
that you would like to try? Is that something you would like to try? Uh, would you
I
like to
think,
try to do
yeah.
drama or romantic comedy, or would you like to stick to horror or
No, I wouldn't. Horror is something that I enjoy watching, and I do enjoy acting in it, and but that's kind of like the morbid, not the morbid side, but that other side of my personality, like that likes the dark stuff. I just find it really, really interesting. But I think in terms of like what roles I would like to do, when I was at uni and when I perform live, I normally get the silly roles, the funny roles, because comedy is something that I feel quite comfortable in. And again, that's not something that everyone is comfortable doing.
it's
A lot of
very
people are
hard to do
scared of
comedy?
it.
It's very hard to do comedy.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are anxious to do comedy because I just think everyone overthinks it, and they're like, no, but timing and this and that. And there is an element of it, which I guess is a natural gift. I don't like using that word, but you know what I mean. It's a natural thing. Like you get timing, and you aren't worried about looking like an absolute idiot, which is something that I am not worried about. I like being silly. I like being ridiculous. And I'm always like, let's be more ridiculous. Like, let's really be stupid. So I would love to do some comedy, but I find like, especially in indie theatre, like there's not many people doing comedy. Making short films or any feature films. I very rarely see them for comedy. Everyone loves to do a horror, because who wouldn't? It's exciting. I would love to do something that is really gritty and sort of, I know we were talking about it yesterday. I see myself as a working class actor, not because I'm like, oh, I think I'm bottom of, I don't know, bottom of the barrel or whatever, or I'm not worthy of being a lead in something, but I think like what I like watching is that sort of like real life, gritty, sort of underground vibes. I'd love to do more of that, more sort of like, but that's sort of like heavily drama based. And what else would I like to do? I'd
No,
love to play someone that's just like, I'd just love to play someone that's really dark. Just really like.
I was going to ask you, is there any roles that you would not want to do? If someone came up to this, yeah, we have you in a role, we have you in mind for this. Is there anything that you would not want to try to do?
I think things probably, I don't really enjoy watching period things. So I'm kind of like, I want to do more present day stuff.
So no Downton Abbey for you then?
Hell no. I definitely don't want to be in Downton Abbey. I haven't got the right. They wouldn't cast me anyway. I've got holes in my ears and tattoos on my legs. They wouldn't put me in it. So no, I wouldn't want to be in that. And there's things that I wouldn't do. Like sometimes, when you're watching a film and then you're like, oh God, here we are. Here's a sex scene for the sake of a sex scene. Oh, well, she got her boobs out now. Lovely. Right. Oh, are we doing this? And, like sometimes I just feel like a lot of like mainstream things are like, add some sex sells.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And that, it's not always needed. And sometimes it can really like put me off watching things. I'm like, oh, guys, she's just going to have her boobs out the whole time. I don't want to watch it. And that's,
So you would never, would not really like to do. I don't blame you. You would not want to do a gratuitous nudity scene. I can understand.
No.
I think a
Or
lot.
anything,
I think a lot of actresses do not want to do nude scenes anymore.
or just anything that was kind of like very like very like sexually, I don't know, like 50 Shades of Grey. Hell no, no, thank you. I don't want to do it. And it's not because I'm a prude, or I just like to people think that I was good, and oh, she didn't get her boobs out, and she's still
Right.
good. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd
Right.
like that.
I mean, I know they say, well, it's part of the story. It's part of the story. It's like, really? I mean, you can't, you as a writer, you can't do any, because I actually had, we had a discussion once with the director, and he put a rape scene in his movie, and
Mm.
we were talking to him about it, and I'm going like, you already created a awesome villain. He created this awesome villain, and I said, I just was a little perplexed by you throwing that scene in there when you've already established him as being a total evil doer. You don't need to put him over anymore as evil, because we get it. We've gotten it. We
Yeah,
see what he's done. And I just thought that the rape scene was gratuitous. And I said, I think I don't know if you underestimated your pen or what, but you established your villain. And
yeah,
it's like sometimes I think they're like over the top. They like, okay, how can we really make sure this guy or this girl is really bad? Well, let's have him eat a baby.
yeah.
Why? Why? He just had him blow up a bus. Why do you need to have him eat a baby? It's like you've already established it. You don't need to push it any further.
And
Uh,
there's something quite not amateur, but there is something that was very sort of like college days that it reminds me of, because I remember when I was at college, everyone was like, I'm going to do something completely taboo that no one talks about. I'm going to do a play on eating disorders, or I'm going to do a play on self-harm, and it became this thing that everyone was like, I'm going to do it because no one dares touch it, and everyone did it. And I think sometimes that happens in a lot of like independent smaller films where they're like, oh, I want a shock, so I just put a rape scene in, and I'm just not, why? Because I don't know, I'm not going to get into it too personally, but I just think like, you don't, if you have to write something like that to shock or to make him be a bad guy or whatever, I just think it's completely unnecessary. And I think there's other ways to do it, and there's other imaginative ways that you could do it without having someone being sexually assaulted or eating a baby.
let's see. Let's see the chat we're talking about here. Let's see. Sam's asking the Urban Gotham, how about doing a comedy horror? Yes, I could definitely see you in a comedy horror. Definitely, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Let's see. American Psycho 3. Yep. Doomsday Army says, for me, the hardest part for me with job is gratuitous, unnecessary nude sex scenes. Where we love horror, but I have to watch the movie first to skip it. Yeah, I mean, it's. Angela's talking about this. She says, I think it's important to talk about this. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, because I agree with that. I do think, I do think this part of it, of the filmmaking process is not talked about enough at all. I don't. And, that's why, I'm missing the other director. And, when I did talk to him about that, and because I was really curious to know what his thought process was. It's like it's just like it was over the top you didn't need to be over the top.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go that extra inch. It's okay not to do that.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, just something whilst we're on that sort of subject, two points I want to make. I don't know what it's like, obviously, in the US, and I'm not talking about everyone in the UK, but anyone who has a camera thinks that they're a director, okay? So sometimes you'll be getting these castings and it will be for this, and they'll be like, oh, the scene has nudity in it. And like, what are your credentials? Like, who are you? Like, what? So you're a director. Like, okay, I've got an iPhone. Am I a director? Like,
we have that
yeah. And I just think like, that's just so dangerous, because there are so many people, like what I was saying, it's a hard industry, it's really disheartening, and sometimes you do feel like you will do anything for your big break, for that role, whatever it is. And you know, I've got my head screwed on, and I am old, you know, I'm 33. So I'm older than, you know, some of these young, like 18-year-old girls that are coming out, that are, you know, straight out of college or university or whatever, that just want their first bite of the cake, or whatever it is, bite of the apple. I don't know, I like cake. So they just want their first go. And they're, you know, and I've seen it on with my own eyes. There's casting calls and they're like, we need a full body shot. No, you don't. No, you don't. And we want to know. I've actually seen a casting where someone has asked to have a photo of up your skirt, like with pants on, but up your skirt. Like, that's so inappropriate. But people will do it because people are desperate and people want to go. And sorry, I'm off on a rant. And another thing, these people, these directors with their iPhones, who's looking after your actors while that scene's happening? So it's all right, you've decided that there's going to be a rape scene, and you might have an actress, a young actress, and whomever, it don't matter how old she is, but you've got an actress, and then you've got this man or whomever on top of her raping her, right? You're acting. But like I was saying, sometimes your body doesn't know, like, you don't know what that could bring up. Like, where is the safety that's involved in that? If you've got a man that you've never met performing a sex act, acting it out, gyrating on top of you, like, who's looking after these actors to make sure that afterwards that actor's safe, or that actor's comfortable throughout the whole scene? Because I've had it when I was younger, and I've done a scene where my character was sexually assaulted by 3 different people, and it was very uncomfortable, and it was literally like, okay, right, you get off now, you get on. And no one was like, Kelly, are you okay? And you know, it's just really inappropriate, and it's not necessary. You can,
I agree. We have that with, unfortunately, we have that. I'm in a few of the acting groups, and I've seen many actors and actresses comment about that. A lot of actors sitting there saying how they want nudity and they want pictures, and it's just like, you know what? Unless you're sitting over there with I can vet you out and your name, because a known name's never going to ask that. No, in a group like that, for one thing, no one's going to do that in a group. No one's going to do that. So that's your first thing. And they also got the ones that are scammers. I saw a young lady whose career looked to be taken off. She got hit with it by a scammer who promised her all this. You know, I mean, he already nailed one actor, got him to move his whole family to Los Angeles, and he got totally taken for $10,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was awful. It was awful. Then I had an actress got hit by the same guy who burned the actor and promised her the sun and the moon. And people, they don't. I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm anything special, but Jesus Christ, it only took me 30 seconds to investigate this guy to see if he was full of shit. And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, why don't you people just? It's okay to vet anybody. If someone says that, hey, you know, like for Darren, you know, me and Darren, you know, I knew Darren. I felt comfortable with him. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't just go to any director I don't know and just sit there and say, oh yeah, by the way, here you go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. But it's important that young artists vet all their contacts. If they get, you know, make sure that these people are on the up and up. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, and it's okay to say, if you were offered that role and then you're put in that, they've not spoke about it, but then, you know, when you're there and you're on set and they're like, oh, if you could just do this, if you're not comfortable with it, no job, no gig, no nothing is worth you doing that, or you putting yourself in a place where you feel vulnerable or you feel unsafe. Like, if that ever happens, you get out of there, stuff them.
I think this is something we talked about. Let me see in the chat here. There is a there's Morbid Heart Design saying, "Yep, run away." Oh, ran away. So we're ranting. Yes, we are. It's not really a rant. It's a cautionary tale. So I'm with you on this, and I'm going to address this in a second. We talked about this yesterday. See, there's a former Disney actress who's pushing for mental health professions to be on set to help process hard scenes like this, especially for children. I would love to see this become standard. I would
Yeah,
too. I
agree.
would too. Like I think, a lot of people in our community, they like to make fun of me because I don't like torture porn.
Yeah.
I refuse to watch
Oh,
it. I,
how
I
we
watched I watched I Spit on Your Grave when I was 21 years old. I found out right then and there what my limits were on how far what I'll watch. I won't watch anything like that again.
yeah,
I don't care who. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. I'm not going to sit there. I'm not. And if I see it, I'm going to call it. If I see it
yeah,
if I review a movie, say someone sends me a movie to review or whatnot, and it's like that, I'm either not going to review it or I'm going to review it and I'm going to call it up for what it is. Um,
yeah.
but I think you think the part of the reason why some of the young actors get caught, especially over in Europe, England, is because of the lack of roles. I
A
mean,
that, yeah, I do a little bit of that, but I think a lot of it just comes down to sheer desperation. And I don't mean
mm,
that, to any disrespect. There are going to be people that are going to be completely comfortable, and there are safe ways to do it. Um, and if a actor or an actress wants to do that, you are allowed to. That's fine. I'm just saying that I think in a lot of these smaller budget films, people are just and especially after COVID, people are just desperate to work. People are desperate to get their names out there and their name attached to something different. So you might think, oh, I really, really, really want the role. Oh, but I've got to get my boobs out. Oh, I don't want to say no. I don't want to say that I don't want to do that because they might cast someone else. So I think people just end up doing things that maybe they wouldn't agree to.
yeah, I felt like when we were talking yesterday, we were talking about how like I turn on. I love British cinema. I do. I love it. I have several things here from in my collection from the UK. I noticed that there's a lot of those. Like it's like always the very top end of everything. It's always acted by everybody. Bill Nighy, Maggie Smith, Judy Dench. It's always the same core actors doing all the good projects, and it doesn't seem to be any young fresh blood be able to get in there. I mean, Tom Hardy broke through, and he was like in his mid 30s before he was able to crack through. Benedict Cumberbatch, Martin Freeman, those guys had to really struggle just to crack into it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, do you think the UK? I mean, would it be more helpful for the UK? Like coronations, some of the programs they have on TV, like they don't have very long seasons. They have like, you guys do like 10 episodes per series, they're called, right?
Oh yeah.
Or
So yeah.
so it's not very many guest stars. There's not very many parts out there. And I'm just wondering, do you think something like this would, it helps lower the defense of an actor,
I think
and to encourage their desperation and going out to some of these shady roles,
yeah.
shady auditions.
I think sometimes as well, like even in like I keep going back to low budget things because sometimes when you read castings and you think, who do you think you are? Like you have got some balls to write this casting call out and think that that's what and I've seen casting calls where they're like, pretty much don't bother applying unless you've got like 10,000 followers on Instagram, like, and it's kind of like there's so many boxes you have to tick, and it is, I'm sure I've said it a million times, it's hard out there and it's difficult, especially um you know in an industry where how you look is very important, because obviously you need to look like a character, you need to look like what they have in their head. So you've already got that, and then it's like, oh, can you do X, Y, and Z? Are you happy to get your boobs out? And have you got 10,000 followers on Instagram? Because they don't want a nobody. And if you aren't social media famous, sometimes they will think that you are a nobody. And I've seen, you know, there's a soap that we have called Hollyoaks. It's and they basically, it's all, I watched it the other day. I don't really watch it, and I watched it, and they had some dancers off a dance show that are now actors in it, and I was like, what? Like, and it's obvious they've never taken an acting class in their life, but they're in there because they're a name. They're, and you know, these young attractive male dancers are going to bring their own following of, you know, a following of young girls that are going to be tuning in every day to see, I don't know, Tom and Ben or whoever they are. They're going to be tuning in to see them. And it's honestly like, you know how I said I love bad films, like I love bad horror films, and I love having a giggle and stuff, but that's like literally makes you want to like shove your head down your top. It's so cringy, but it's all about following.
It used to be like, it was like just you would go out and because of your craft, you know, like you would get a part because of your craft. Because we're seeing that over here too. I've heard some actors mention that too, that the fact that some of these roles are going to influencers or social media, whatever that means, but that's what they're doing. I think actors, you know, established actors, I think there's one thing that they're going to have to learn, and that is they're going to have to learn to promote themselves. A lot of actors do not know how to do that. They're horrible at it. They're horrible at it. But it's part of the game now. Now it's out to the point. Now you have to get out there. When you do an interview, something like this, it's important now to tell your followers that you are now doing an interview. Before, it's just you do it and then you go out there and you move on to the next one. Now it's like you do it and now you keep it and now you use it to sit there and say, listen, I'm working it. I can help you promote whatever project you're in. And it means more. I mean, personally, it shouldn't be that way. You're hired to do it. You're hired to do a job. You're hired to act. When the project's complete, you go out there and you press the flesh and you say hi, you know, whatever. But actually, to get out there and promote themselves, it's just a different beast now.
Yeah, and it's difficult because let's be honest, like social media isn't the most fun place to be. Like social media can be, you know, and sometimes, like, you know, whether sometimes I don't want to go on it. I'm just like, oh, I'm over it. It's exhausting. You spend hours on it, and I'm like, I want to live in the real world for 10 minutes. And you know, it's not enough to just have this. You've got to have this, and then, or have you got TikTok, or have you got Instagram, and do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have this? Do you have that? Have you paid for your headshots? Have you got this? Have you done this? And sometimes you just think like, oh my God, can I just get an audition and just go in and do it and then be like, you're hired because you're good at acting?
Go into the chat real quick. Let's see. Yep. Even as an artist, followers count is sometimes taken as followers. Yeah, for very large events. Yeah, Angela is a artist, and she has her own business, and she works conventions and street fairs, and she's saying even in her industry, that's what they're asking. They're asking, you know, if they have a large following, you know, will she be able to bring fans to the event? Yeah, that's part of it. You know, it's weird because it's like, look, I just paid you $500 for a table. And now you're asking me if I have 10,000 Instagram followers. Well, what does that have to do with me selling my art? I mean, I don't get that either. And Jamie saying, as an older woman myself who is trying to break into YouTube, I worry constantly about how I look and whether my age is showing. Looks better too much. It's anxiety inducing.
100%. 100%. And I said, this is a conversation that we had yesterday. I've gone for roles where they want you to be mid-30s, single mum, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I've got this. Nailed it. Smashing audition, sent it off. And I don't get the part. And then I look at who's got the part and the person that's been cast is young, 22, fresh faced, not a wrinkle on their face. And you just think, this is not real life. This is not. And, you know, we do live in this world of the social media world where everyone's putting a filter on how they look, and everyone's airbrushed their own photos, and, you know, everything's pulled and tight and cinched and perfectly toned. And it's so not off-putting, but it's so scary to then think, oh, I've got to compete with all of that just
And
to
the thing
get
about
a
it
look
is,
in.
the pressure is all on women.
Yeah.
Way more on women than it is men. Men don't have that nearly as much. I mean, here, for example, here you and I look. I look like I just rolled out of bed. The cheetah attacked me and kicked my ass, and then I'm here interviewing you. You look lovely. You have makeup on. Your hair's looking cute. I mean, and there's the difference. It's like you look really pretty. You feel like you have to look the part. Me, I just rolled out of bed. I don't have that pressure to sit there and be in a tux and a tie. It's an uneven standard, and I don't think that's very fair either.
And that's why. So I teach young children every week, and when I teach, I won't put any makeup on, and that is why I will go and my hair's always like scraped up on top of my head. I've not got a stitch of makeup on. See, I've washed my face, and I just go because there are some teenage girls that I teach, and they, you know, I remember once, it was heartbreaking. We had a dance teacher come in for a trial day, and very pretty, sort of like long hair extensions, long eyelash extensions, a lot of makeup on her face, very slim. And I taught the teenage girls after they'd met her, and I was like, oh, so what did you think of her? And they were like, how do we get to look like her? And I was like, no, what did you think of like her dancing ability, like, or her teaching ability? Did you like her? And all they were concerned about was how she looked. And I had to just sit them all down and just say, like, you cannot compare yourself to each other, because there is literally a whole world out there that is going to do that to you for the rest of your life. And they're going to compare you against other women. And, you know, she's this and she's more that, and she can do this, and, you know, she's a gymnast and she's skinny, and you're fat and you've got wrinkles and your hair's grey or whatever. And it's so like, you just feel like you're being hit all the time. And it's so just heartbreaking to think that, you know, I've got 12-year-old girls that are worried about that. But then at the same time, when I was a 12-year-old girl, that was stuff that I was worried about as well, because I was like, oh, why does everyone fancy that girl?
Let's see. Jamie saying let's see. Doomsday Army says being new to the ins and outs. There is definitely challenges that face the talent alone isn't judged. It's very unfortunate.
100%.
Jamie says, I just turned 48, and because I tend to view myself through the male gaze, I end up getting myself worked in a tizzy every time I'm going to do a show. Since I review horror movies, it's mostly men, and they're always talking about how women look in the movies we review. As a reviewer,
forget them, Jamie.
Yeah, as a reviewer, I will be honest with you. That's something I do not do. I don't talk about how, about that. It doesn't drive me. A performance is everything to me. I don't care how a person looks, as long as they act well, male or female. So yes, it is. I'm going to open up the floor for questions for Kelly in the chat. You guys are free to ask her anything. So we'll do a question and answer here, and then we'll close the show. So if you have any questions about Kelly, please put them in the chat, and we will have her answer them. You were doing awesome, by the way. This is so much fun.
Thank you. Sorry, I know that I ramble on.
No. This is exactly what 8 questions is all about. I ask the questions, you answer them. This is exactly what I wanted. Good. So nope. Okay, I'm sure people are going to throw some questions out here. This is really neat. I mean, I've seen a lot of first-time people in my chat, so I'm very happy to see them show up.
Yeah, definitely. I want to follow everyone's channels.
Yes, I will. Yes, we will do that when we do replay. The chat will be. You can go inside the chat and just scroll on down and find everybody and connect. I did put out your Instagram page, which I will do again, so people can follow you on Instagram.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Here's Morbid Heart says, "Thank you for teaching kids not to compare to others. The best to be the best you can. It's a life-changing thing to enact in your life, and I would love for others to learn that younger than I did." Amen.
Yeah, 100%.
Doomsday Army says, "Kelly, what is your ideal role that you love to play? What's your dream role?"
Dream role.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to think of like. I would love to be in like a series where you see real character development, like a long running series. Dreaming big here. So like, for example, like The Handmaid's Tale. Is it called The Handmaid's Tale? Where you see there's like this, you just see lots of development, and it gives the character room to grow, and it not be like something that you're trying to do and cram it in an hour and a half. I would love something like that I could really get my teeth stuck into. Over here, I don't know if any of you have seen this, but we have on ITV, they do these like specials, these ITV drama specials, and there was one called Dr. Foster, there was one called Liar, and they're always like really gritty, and they always have like women as strong like lead roles, and it's never like, oh, I'm just a woman. It's always like, I'm woman, hear me roar. And I would like one of them.
I actually got some of the Dr. Fosters.
Did you?
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Kelly, are there any directors who you would love to work with? Jamie says hers would be David Lynch.
Who would I love? So not necessarily.
Say Aslan Clark. I'd love to see you work with Aslan. She's a Irish director. She does horror, but she's so good.
Okay, well, her definitely. And also, this is just for childhood me. I would really, just to fulfill a childhood dream, I would love to work with Rob Zombie, because grew up massive fan of his music. Like, that was my jam. And I love the sort of like comedy and darkness of sort of Devil's Rejects, House of Thousand Corpses. That sort of like dark, very on the nose things. I love that. So yeah, I think for my teenage Kelly, I would love to work with Rob Zombie. He's doing the new Munsters film, isn't he?
Definitely here. Of course, we're all holding our breath because he's going to cast his wife again. And his wife,
I know. That's why.
Horrible actress. Horrible.
I'll never get to be. But I like the I don't know, this sort of like dirty feel to his films, isn't there? Yeah. Like a bit of a grubby feel, and I kind of like that. No.
Rob Zombie and I. That's just funny you mentioned Rob Zombie, because it's like, oh my gosh, I won't have time for it today, but I can tell you a story about Rob Zombie.
Given the wrong answer.
Let's see. Doomsday mentions, aside from nude or gratuitous, is there any role that you would not play? I mean, is there any role someone wanted you to play? Is there one that you would?
Yeah, if someone was like, oh, here's this racist, homophobic, like, like, there's just some things that, like, morally, I'm like, oh no, I'm cool with that, thank you. But I'm trying to think. No, I've played some really weird roles, and I've had really good fun playing some strange roles. You were talking about eating a baby. I have been in a play where they ate a baby.
But isn't that Shakespeare? Doesn't that happen?
No. This was called Blasted, and she was like a girl with learning difficulties who was in a relationship with a man who was a little bit, he was the same age as her, but obviously like mentally he was older than her. And yeah, it's really dark. And anyway, she gets the upper hand and she like leaves him, and there's an explosion, and then he has to eat a baby to survive, a dead baby.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
It's great
There
play.
you
Look it
go.
up. Blasted Sarah Kane.
Let's see. Let's see. Do you see yourself being okay? More Angela's asking. Do you see yourself always being in front of the camera, or one day moving to more of a production or a support position? Well, we already know that you could do makeup.
So I can do makeup, and so next to my bed, I have a book because I have the craziest dreams. Like, and I remember them, not like when people are like, oh my God, I remember my dreams. Like, I remember details. And I started writing these down because I was like, this is going to make a great film. So I would love to turn some of my dreams into films. Short films I'd be happy with. Maybe, you know, if I could get funding, I'd love to turn one into a feature film. But yeah, I definitely love to write and to direct. That's something that I have done in the past, but never I've never filmed anything that I've written. I've done it for live performance. So I'd love to just have a go and direct something.
I think that would. I think you definitely could do that. I think you should also try to do some makeup work too. I mean, your special effects, your special effects makeup is just outstanding. I did mention that before. When you guys go over to Kelly's Instagram page, look at. You have to scroll down a little bit, but look at her makeup pictures. It's crazy good. It's really good.
I have got a special effects page that's on my Instagram. It's Hex Effects, HEXSFX. But yeah, so there's more makeup on there because I don't always post everything on my personal Instagram because not everyone likes blood.
Well, what we'll do is I'll put that page along with your regular Instagram and all your other socials. I'll put that in the description box as soon as we're done. So when people come back to this interview, they can go there and go visit you. We'll put your YouTube channel on there so everybody here can connect with you. So yep. Let's see. Oh, we got more questions. American History X is an amazing movie. I think Ed Norton took huge chance and challenged in a row. Yeah, that was a challenging role. You mean to play like a neo-Nazi or a Republican? I mean, that's gonna take some balls now.
So, but that film is up there with one of my favorite films. I think it's amazing. I think the whole cast, they're all brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. That's a powerful movie.
So good.
Let's see. Doomsday mentions. See, that's what Cause is asking the same thing I asked yesterday. Can you do it in an American accent?
So I've been to, like, at my drama group, we had to do a play, and it was an American play. I can't remember what it was, but we had to do it where we all had to be American accent. And there's something like quite cringy about doing American accent, because I imagine, do you know when Americans do British impersonations and it's like, oh, what, tea and crumpets? And I'm like, no one talks like that. So I don't want to embarrass myself live by doing an impression that I think's American, that you're like, that is definitely not American. I'm chickening out. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll come back. Next interview. We're gonna have Kelly.
I'll do the whole thing in American.
Yes, I can see that. So next interview, Kelly will come back and do this whole interview with an American accent.
And I'll sing Les Mis.
Do you do any other accents? Oh, whatever you do, never call a Scottish person. Never call them English. That's your tip for today from me. Never say, "Are you English?" Never say that to a Scottish person ever. Not unless you want to get beat up.
Well, no, so when I tick the box and it says like English, I always obviously put Scottish, even though I have an English accent now. I'm still like, I'm Scottish.
Oh
Like
gosh.
when the football's on, I'm like, oh, boo England, ooh, Scotland. But we're always out like straight away. Well, we were this time anyway. So accents, yeah, I think I can do. I do a few, but they're all probably really stereotypical and not offensive. But I imagine if a Russian person heard my Russian accent, they'd be like,
That's fine, because who cares? I mean, okay, I'm a little bit jaded toward the Russians, but any other accents? So, I mean, you could do regional accents, right? You could do the different, from the different parts of England, right? You could do that. I mean, isn't there like Guernsey or Cockney
yeah, I
or
think like
Victorian?
Cockneys. I can do Cockney, but like obviously I always think Cockneys are like, oh fucking hell, because that's how Dan talks. He's from London, and he's like, way geezer. Do you know what I mean? That's how he talks. And I do an impression of Dan's mum. She doesn't swear, but whenever I do an impression of her, I'm like, oh fucking hell, no, because that's how I think she talks. She doesn't talk like that. And I did my impression in front of her, and she was like, I don't swear, and I'm like, I know, but fucking hell, love, like, ooh. She never does any of those things. But I think, like, with all accents, it's easy to read something in an accent, but you have to have those little, like Liverpool. So they say fried chicken and a can of Coke, fried chicken and a can of Coke, or Adele won a Grammy last night. Like they're, but I imagine if I did that to a Scoutser or a Geordie, they'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it's like us doing a southern accent, or someone from Oklahoma, or
Nice southern girl.
yeah, or I personally feel like I don't sound like I mean, I guess there's supposed to be a Michigan accent. I don't really fear it. I've been here 22 years. No one's ever accused me of sounding like a Michigander. I always sound Californian to me. Yeah, let's see. I just tell the Scottish I'm Irish descent, and we get into a bar. Oh, okay. He just tells the Scottish that he's Irish, and they get into a room brawl. Yeah. All right. Last round of questions before we end this great show. Okay. Yep. I have to go now, but this has been a great morning. Thank you so much for your support, Angela. Thank you Thank you so much for everybody else for coming out and supporting this interview.
Thank you.
I was a little nervous. About because I've never started so early. I mean, it's like I said, it's 12 o'clock here. I didn't know how people would come out, but obviously I found out that people will show up. So we'll definitely have to do this again. April is in post-production. It should be out within a couple of months. What it does, I'll review it and we'll tell people about it. And yeah, and
sorry,
then you keep me abreast.
Sorry, the trailer to April is in my bio on Instagram. Sorry.
Okay, and then we'll stay in touch, obviously, because we're friends. And whenever something new and exciting happens, we'll definitely let people know about it. And and I just want to thank you so much for coming and doing this for us. I've been looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this for years. So I'm very excited about it. And thank you so much, Kelly, for your time. We will let you go back with Dan and enjoy your dinner.
Thank you very much.
And for everybody else, I hope to see you guys back this coming Thursday, where we have TV Western historian Bill Levy will be here at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I think you'll be in bed for that one. You'll have to catch the replay. So that'll be here next Thursday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for TV historian and writer Bill Levy. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
And we were out of here. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, everyone. See you later. Bye.
Bye.